I'm Danny, that witch next door, and you're listening to That Witch Podcast. Well, hello, neighbor. Welcome back to another episode here at That Witch Podcast. I'm Danny. I'm that witch next door, and I'm going to be your host, your guide, your mentor, and instructor in all things magic, witchcraft, astrology, and witchy business. And today is a really intriguing episode that I have been really excited to record for all of you. It's been on the calendar for a bit now because I planned it a little while ago. And so I'm so excited that we're here. So today we are talking about the different energy planes, okay? You can also refer to these as the different energy realms. You can also refer to them as energetic frequencies or levels of vibration, they're also referred to. We are going to be addressing high vibe versus low vibe and that whole hot mess of a conversation and concept. I'm really excited. This is something that I've always been drawn to ever since I was a kid, because even when I was a kid, I was so obsessed and fascinated with other realms and other worlds and other universes and alternate realities. And that stuck with me always. That fascination and curiosity has never left me. So as an adult, it's something that I absolutely love learning about. And one of my first entry points, I guess you could say, into this branch of research and spiritual concept, I guess, was my work as a death witch. And when you want to consider learning or honing in on or strengthening any kind of mediumship skills, this is definitely a concept that you're going to come across. Then another entry point is dream work and astral travel and astral projecting. Another and past life regression. Another area that I probably started getting really interested and intrigued by those concepts probably sometime maybe late college or afterwards. And so I absolutely, there's been so many different entry points for me. Those are just a couple. You'll find, and the reason I'm explaining all this is you'll find that this information is really the foundation and lays the groundwork for so many different branches of spirituality and spiritual work in general. Okay, so many different areas. And this concept, therefore, is taught with a lot of the overall same bones, but in a lot of different formations and methods and strategies. Okay, so I am going to keep today's episode pretty basic. And the reason is because, well, there's a few reasons. Number one, I want this to be an opening of a conversation that we explore in many more specific branches after this. So I want to do kind of an overview first. And then also to the beginner or novice or somebody who's never really learned any of these concepts or about the energy planes or the levels of energy frequencies and vibrations, this can be really an overwhelming concept because it is really complex. And not only that, it directly conflicts with so much of our collective conditioning. So there's going to be so much that very well could conflict directly with fundamental beliefs or views that you were raised on. And maybe you're coming to this episode with a very open mind. Beautiful. Definitely would require at the least recommend that for this episode, but kind of a little bit of a requirement to have a bit of an open mind here. This is it's just going to require a big shift and an opening up of your perspective. And so I think that this will be much, much more effective to start out really, really basic, give you a couple of the most recent resources that I've been working with this research on myself. I've come across this concept in many places over my years in witchcraft and spirituality. And we will add a good chunk of resources on this to our resources page. Okay, we'll add a good chunk of book recommendations and sites or just references in general. Okay, for anybody that just gets really inspired, which is exactly what I want this episode to do. But today, for the actual episode, we're going to keep things pretty specific to as far as references go, to just a couple of books that I personally have been reading and just like devouring and loving lately. And I really, really enjoyed the way that both of them approach and explain the energy planes. So we're going to kind of adapt those a little bit today. Okay. Now, please know that, as always, if you have any questions about any of this, I'm always right next door. I'm just a message away, especially if you're on Mighty Networks and that witch school. You can just DM me directly in there, as always. And then if you ever want to reach out and you're outside of that witch school, thatwitchnextdoor.com/conjure that witch. Okay. Now, let's see here. First and foremost, where we're going to start is painting a bit of a visual picture for everybody. And I'm working on creating a visual reference for this that I'll make a free download for everybody and make that available on the resources page. Okay, so keep an eye out for that. I'll let you know in email newsletter as soon as it's available. So I really want to help paint a visual picture. And if you're a note taker, this is going to be a wonderful episode to take notes on. Okay. So the two books that we're going to be referencing today, first is How to Use Your Intuition to Elevate Your Craft. This is Intuitive Witchcraft by Astral Taylor. And I have posted about both of these books a couple of times on social media. So if you're in the neighborhood, these might sound familiar, but we're going to get into some of the meat today. I'm really excited. The other book is called Monsters, An Investigator's Guide to Magical Beings by John Michael Greer. And I really wanted to use both of these references in one sitting because of how different they are. And yet we're using them to talk about one cohesive concept. I love this because, again, this illustrates what I was talking about at the beginning, that this concept really lays the foundation in so much of your work. Even if you just primarily work with energy, if you identify as like an energy worker, an energy practitioner, I do a lot of meditation work, or I do a lot of dream work. This is very, very helpful information. And if you kind of already know this, again, like I do, right? I've learned about this from so many different sources, but as always, when we learn something through a new, fresh perspective and lens, it can really open it up even further for us, and we can make even more connections for ourselves for moving forward. So even if you're a little familiar with this, I still really encourage you to stick around. So we're going to first start with Astral Taylor's Intuitive Witchcraft book. Okay. And in her book on page 31, just in case you have this, or if you want to order it, obviously these are linked in the show notes for everybody's convenience. On page 31, she has a figure, and you're going to see pyramids all the time for this concept, describing the different energetic planes. Okay. And one thing that I loved about Astral Taylor's approach was she used a witch hat, a little illustration of a witch hat, because a witch hat is kind of a triangle or a pyramid shape. Now, the very brim or bottom or widest point, right, of the hat is the physical energy realm. Then the next level up, this is the emotional energy realm. So if there was like a little belt, a little belt and a little hook on this hat, like an old-fashioned witch hat, then this is kind of where that emotional energy realm would be sitting, okay? Then kind of toward the middle part of the stalk of the hat, right, is the mental energy realm. And at the very top tippy point is the spiritual energy realm. And I think what we'll do is we'll directly compare this with John Michael Greer's illustration, which is similar, but just different enough. Now, in John Michael Greer's illustration in the Monsters book on page 28, how funny, they're kind of close in page number to each other. On page 28, on this figure, we see two triangles or pyramids. One is upright with the widest point or the base at the bottom, right, pointing upwards. And then there's another facing the opposite direction. So the widest point is at the top, opposite the other, it's at the top. And the point perfectly reaches down and touches the base of the triangle that's right side up, okay? And these are divided into sections just like the witch hat was divided into sections or levels, okay? And starting at the very bottom or the widest energy point or energy level or vibration level is the physical energetic plane again. The next level up in this book is referred to as the etheric energetic energy plane. Sorry, I didn't have to say energetic energy. This is the ethereal energy plane. Ethereal can also be used as a term that you can swap with the emotional energy realm. So you can call it both the emotional and or the etheric energy realm, okay? It's one right above the physical energy realm. The next one above the etheric in John Michael Greer's book that we did not see in Estrella Taylor's figure is the astral energy realm, okay? So this is the center point of the triangle as we're working our way up to the topmost tippy point. Then the second to highest point is the mental energy field. And finally, at the very tip-top point is the spiritual energy realm. But because we also have this upside down triangle kind of feeding into or pointing downwards on top of, really layered directly on top of the bottom right side up facing triangle, what it shows is the energy that is fed to us and also trickles down from the spiritual through to the mental, into the astral, into the etheric, and finally into the physical energy fields, which I think is a really, really important part of this visual. So like I said, I'll get some good visuals up for that witch and put them on resources page for everybody. So we all have that free little download. Okay. So now that we have a little bit of an understanding, and this is a great, like I said, a great note-taking episode. So pause or stop this at any point and rewind to kind of draw and create your own figures, or at the very least, just label that physical starts at the bottom, emotional or etheric energy realm is the next one up. Then we have the astral realm, then we have the mental realm, and finally, always at the tippy top of that right side up facing pyramid, we have the spiritual energy realm. Now, in both cases, in both authors talk about and describe their levels very, very similarly. So from this point on, I'm just going to give you both my paraphrasing of both of their books and their descriptions mixed with my own understanding and experience level, okay? So The physical energy realm is where we exist, where all physical beings and entities and life forms exist. Okay. This is the realm we are trying to get to when we talk about grounding. Okay. So I want to really make this a strong point because this is where we start to understand the low vibe versus the high vibe. So, like we talked about in both figures and visual examples here, at the bottommost point of both is the physical energy realm, right? It's the lowest vibration. And keep in mind, within each of these realms are also multiple levels and layers of energy. So within this physical energy realm, there are all different kinds of physical forms of physical energy, all different kinds. I mean, think about it. Here on Earth, this is the easiest realm for us to understand and picture, okay? Because it's the things in our physical reality. So whether that's energy, like literally a fuel source, whether it's like jet fuel or gas or even the food that we eat, right? That's fuel for us that converts and turns into energy within our bodies. Okay. So that form of energy, that's a physical energy, but really anything, the interactions we have with each other, the tasks that we do throughout the day. There are so many things that we physically do and physically experience. And these are all various levels and various forms of physical energy. Okay. The same goes for the next energy level up. When we get to the emotional and etheric level, there are many layers and many forms of etheric and emotional energy that we can call and label. Oh, that is higher vibration, or oh, that is lower vibration, or that is a higher frequency, or that is a lower frequency. However, where we have gotten very messy and even very toxic, especially in the spiritual community, is this concept that low vibe equals bad and high vibe equals good. When the truth of the matter is that's just not how it works. And just like we've talked about on a couple of other episodes, this is a human-based judgment. And when I say, especially now that we kind of are starting to get this pyramid visual, when I say human-based judgment, I mean that it's a judgment rooted in and based solely on the lowest energy plane, the physical energy plane. Okay, it's a human-based judgment, this good versus bad, okay? It really is. And the reason why this is human-based and it's rooted and takes place in the lowest energy realm is because just like in John Michael Greer's figure that we talked about, where we see the upside down triangle pointing downward toward the base, and we see that all that energy that trickles down from the energy, the spiritual energetic realm and the mental and astral and ethereal, right, that all pour and trickle down into the lower levels. We therefore see that when we get up to the higher and higher levels, we gain more and more wider and wider perspective. And so if we're only making assumptions and judgments based on one of these energetic fields, we are not taking a holistic approach. We are not taking a holistic view and perspective. And that's what I mean when we're saying that's a human-based judgment. Therefore, I mean, it really doesn't necessarily apply to any and all concepts. Therefore, we cannot accurately say low vibe is good and high vibe is bad. Both books also describe the concept of the need and necessity of grounding, okay? And the different proportions of amount of time and experience spent in each of these realms. And this is really where that pyramid shape comes into play. So remember, especially if you're a millennial or probably a Gen Xer, did you have the food pyramid puzzle when you were a little kid? Because I'm pretty sure we all had the food pyramid puzzle, and that thing is so outdated and considered so crazy incorrect now and like really not healthy to use. But we have the same concept here where a pyramid diagram shows like the most right, the largest proportion of items, the foundation or base is at the bottom, and we work our way toward the top, and there's less and less. There's a decrease in the amount of time or energy or experience spent in the higher levels. We are physical beings. Just like we've talked about this on a few episodes. I wish I could remember which one. But we're almost to a full year of the show. So no wonder I can't remember. I really think that we volunteer. Okay. We volunteered for this life form, for this incarnation. We team up with our spiritual team, with our higher self. And this incarnation is a part of many, many incarnations that are a part of a much larger self-devised plan. Okay. I don't think that we are controlled by a higher being. I just don't think it works that way. I really firmly and fundamentally believe that capital S self is just as part of the tippy top of that planning and guiding team as any other spiritual being, and that's part of our spirit team, okay, including our higher self. So I don't think that none of this is up to us. And therefore, I think that we volunteer for each incarnation for the life form that we take, okay? And therefore, we are physical beings. We volunteer to be physical beings. We will naturally need, literally, it's a necessity. We will physically need to spend the majority of our time in the physical energy realm. This means, therefore, right off of the bat here, that low vibe does not equal bad, because we are supposed to and meant to exist mostly in the physical energy field. However, we are also ethereal beings. And this is really where the whole conversation starts getting really, really fascinating. We are earth beings, super duper. But we are also ethereal beings, and this is explained and described by our auras, and this is also commonly referred to as our emotional bodies and our ethereal bodies. There's also many more terms for that, quite honestly. Those are some of the most common ones, I think, terms that you come across. And we are just as much ethereal beings as the beings that live solely in the ethereal realm, that do not exist in the physical realm, okay? When we're talking about death work, and we're talking about death and the soul and that process, the way it's explained is that there are two deaths. There's a physical death of your physical body, and then there is a necessary ethereal death. And those that do not experience their ethereal death, this is where we start to talk about spirits and being stuck in between realms, being stuck in between energetic planes, and why humans can perceive paranormal and ethereal entities and beings like ghosts and spirits, and the fae and aliens, which we'll get into a really fun, fascinating episode about all the beings. That's going to be a separate episode. I'm almost done with John Michael Greer's book, and I have one more similar to it that I want to read, and then we'll do a really good episode on it. But this is why we have so many recorded sightings of humans interacting with or witnessing or with ethereal entities and beings, okay? But it also makes sense why not all of us and not all humans are totally and completely open to this. Our energy can be spent in a total mismatch and out of proportion in each of these energetic fields. Some people operate and live almost exclusively in the ethereal or emotional realm. Some people get trapped in the mental realm, okay? Think about racing thoughts. Think about overactivated air element, or neglected air element, and therefore we have a lot of projections coming from that area. Okay, the subconscious mind can straddle all of these. Okay, the subconscious mind can access the physical, the ethereal, the astral, the mental, and the spiritual realms. And this is why witchcraft and energy work is so much based on mindfulness. This is why we talk so much about mindfulness practice around here, because that's subconscious work, and your subconscious is how you access all of these different areas and capabilities within yourself. Okay, we can spend really out and disproportionate amounts of experience and time within each of these realms, which is why you will see the need for grounding work, or why you'll see the need for shadow and emotional work, or why you'll see the need for intellectual and mental stimulation, or why you'll see dreams in the astral realm really lashing out, like in nightmares or very odd or just very shocking dreams. There is work that needs to be tended to there. Okay, it's usually a sign. This is why we'll feel a gaping hole and void, and like, who am I? What's my purpose? What the fuck is the point of existing? This is a need and neglect of the spiritual energetic realm. And that is an area that needs to be, we're supposed to spend time in each of these, and they're different. We're not supposed to spend the same amount of time on the physical energy plane here as we do the very tippy top point, the spiritual. This is why we're going to see such a huge need for grounding, and why we talk so much. Advocates within the spiritual community talk so much about being very active against spiritual bypassing of our physical experience, because it is the necessary foundation for all of this. It's the basis point of the life form that we are in this life incarnation. Okay, it's very important that we don't bypass our physical experience, and why so many of us are talking about people's basic rights, or people's humans' rights to basic needs, and flourishing therefore above that, right? Not just like starting at a good base point of all humans have, or all beings have this right to have their basic needs met, and those are found in the physical energy realm. So you bypass that, and you don't have this magical, wonderful fucking 5D ascension that people are talking about. You cannot skip the levels. Remember the video game analogy. You can't bypass those levels, right? There is no getting, I mean, unless you have cheat codes. And when you use and abuse cheat codes, when we're talking about energy fields here specifically, don't come at me with some game where you're like, it's way better to have cheat codes in this game. In the game of life, in the human game of life, when we bypass those, we are going to have giant, gaping, destructive, damaging holes and voids within each of these, okay? Or in one or parts of these that are going to have a very direct negative impact on your experience in this incarnation. So, your physical energy realm is where you're supposed to be. This, looking at John Michael Greer's formation, right? Figure where we have the two triangles, one on top of another facing each other, and we can see the spiritual feeding and trickling down to the physical. This is a huge basis for why I say it's so important to bring magic and spirituality and sacredness into your day-to-day life, into your physical experience. We get to do that. We get to take our knowledge and our connection and relationship to spirit and bring that sacredness and bring that divinity into every little thing that we do. So when you look at your to-do list, what are the points, right? Is there anything more physical energy realm than a fucking human to-do list? When you look at your to-do list, what parts of it make you feel absolutely miserable? And what parts of it excite you, or do you enjoy or feel fulfilled from? And then ask yourself why to both of them. What feels in alignment and what feels out of alignment? in each of these kind of categories. And how can you adjust? What can be shifted to create more magic and bring more energetic healing into that space for yourself? This is really, really one of the most basic ways to get started using this information, is knowing that the physical energy realm, the base and lowest but largest foundation point, directly feeds upward into our physical, or from our physical into our ethereal, astral, mental, and spiritual experiences, and vice versa. In turn, we are also fulfilled from our spiritual down to our mental, down to our astral, to our etheric, into our physical experience. And there's that beautiful divine energy exchange, right? There's this beautiful ebb and flow, natural and easy give and take when we're spending this proportionate amount of time within these energetic fields and we're tending to them proportionately and appropriately. There is so much balance and alignment to be experienced. And this is really, I think, something that is incredibly skipped over in a lot of beginner witchcraft books and educational materials, is really talking about these energetic planes, giving this visual for them, helping to give you an understanding of kind of what each of them are and how you work within each of them. This is, again, because it applies to so many different areas of magic and witchcraft and manifestation and energy work, it's really such a disservice that we skip over this all the time. So I want this to be a jumping off point. I hope that this helps kind of clarify a little bit for you, start at least opening doors, and quite possibly, yes, get you asking some questions and get you even more curious. Because again, we're definitely going to be going into this concept and branches of this concept in much more detail and much more specificity. But what I want to leave you with is, when you're thinking about these levels, okay, again, the bottom being the physical, the next step being the etheric or emotional, the next step up being the astral or dream realm, okay? The next step up being the mental realm, the intellectual realm, and finally the tippiest, topmost point, the spiritual realm. What do each of those terms mean for you? Here's your little homework, okay? Can you take those terms, right? Pause and rewind if you need to, list them out. What are examples of forms of those energies within each of those categories? Okay, so what are some examples of physical energy and physical beings to you? What does emotional and etheric mean and feel like to you? That next step up, your emotional body, right? The astral and dream realm, your astral body. What does that realm feel like for you? What has that experience been like for you when you were a kid, now, versus each other, right? What does that energy realm look like to you specifically? Then when you think about the mental and intellectual realm and you think about your thoughts, right? That's a high realm. We are not taught that. We are not conditioned that. We are conditioned that our thoughts and our brain power solely exists on the physical energy realm, and only parts of our brain exist here. So many parts of our neural pathways and brain capabilities take us to these higher realms. Again, this is the work of the subconscious, all right? When you think about your intellectual experience, your environment and terrain within your own unique mind and intellectual space for you, what does that look like? What does intellectual activities and mental capacity and mental realm activities kind of look like for you? And then finally, the spiritual realm. There's going to be naturally a lot of mystery here. Do not be afraid if you get to this category and the words that come to you are, I don't really know. That's okay. We're kind of meant to have that arcana, that divine mystery, right? So, but think about it for you. Let yourself explore that. When you think about higher power, higher spirit concepts, right? Quantum theory, in reincarnation, life after death, all these concepts are concepts of the spiritual realm. What's your experience? This is different than religion, right? Take what you've been taught, even if that includes religious upbringing, but don't forget to incorporate just what you feel and intuitively believe. That's very much a part of this spiritual realm, okay? What does that realm look like to you? And really let yourself kind of use this as a journal prompt and work through each of these levels and think about it. And you will find that over time, after even just this one episode, you're going to be so much more aware of these different energy levels. And it's going to take your practice and your witchcraft to just, oh my God, the next level and relationship, you to spirit and you to your craft. It's amazing. So like I said, keep an eye on your emails over the next few weeks. Hopefully it's a little bit sooner, but I will definitely put in the email newsletter some visual kind of my combination or my interpretation of everything we went over today, and give you a good visual that you can use as a free downloadable resource for yourself to continue your studies as well. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. I am happy to help. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time today and every day. I love and adore and appreciate every single one of my neighbors. Thank you. I hope you have a beautiful, magical rest of your week. I will see you this Friday for the official 1-year episode of That Witch podcast. I cannot believe, and it's on the exact date. July 22nd, 2021 was episode 1 of That Witch podcast. And it's going to be officially considered episode 87 is where we're at in the lineup. But it's the 1-year anniversary for That Witch podcast. If you haven't heard already, I am hosting and throwing an absolutely amazing and magical virtual 1-year anniversary party. Everyone is welcome. This is a free event, and I am so excited to connect with everybody. This is just going to be a really fun and casual event on Thursday, July 21st. This is going to be at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And I'm going to be pulling cards live for people, anyone that shows up with any kind of spiritual questions, and doing some downloads, answering questions about your chart or giving you little snippets and kind of free insight into your chart. So this is a great chance to come and get some free insight from me. I'll be answering questions about the show and just me that anybody has. And then I am also doing an absolutely badass giveaway package for one very lucky live attendee. So all you have to be doing is following all of the accounts on Instagram that are part of the giveaway package. You can find that in my recent posts on Instagram. If you want to head to my Instagram, make sure that you're following all of those accounts, and including my account. And then you have to be at the event live, okay? And somebody will win this huge giveaway package, which retails over a lot of money. There are tons of amazing magical little goods that I included in there, including a bonus little mini session with me. So I can't wait. I just want this celebration to be really about celebrating all of you and your amazing and incredible support of me in this show. So this 1-year anniversary is really my way of giving back and celebrating all of you and your magic. So thank you. I hope so much I get to see you there. Thank you again for everything. I hope that you have a beautiful week. Make sure you stay safe. Hope to see you later, and stay magical out there. Hey, you magical human. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of That Witch podcast. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to share with a friend or give a shout out on your social media. You can also leave a 5-star rating and review on both Apple and Spotify. And if you can't get enough of all of our witchy magical content here in the neighborhood, you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed to my email newsletter, That Witch Gazette. It's a really fun, really convenient one-stop shop to stay up to date on all of the news and happenings here in our neighborhood. If you have any questions, suggestions, ideas for the show, or if you'd like to sponsor an episode, you can send me a message at thatwitchnextdoor.com/conjurethatwitch. Thank you so much. I'll see y'all next time.